The moment you let your guard down, they slip in, silent, invisible, unseen. But make no mistake, evil entities are closer than you think. You may not see them, but they're watching, waiting for the perfect moment to attach themselves to you. They thrive on your weakest points, on your hidden fears, your deepest regrets, your darkest thoughts. They don't need to make a loud entrance. They enter like a whisper, quietly feeding off your pain, your anger, your unhealed wounds. In a world where we believe we control our destiny, there's something we often overlook: the hidden forces that latch onto us when we least expect it. When you think you're safe, when you think you've got it all figured out, that's when they come. They feed off the cracks in your armor, the moments of weakness, the trauma you haven't faced, the fears you haven't confronted, the quiet addictions, the thoughts that plague your mind, the unresolved grief. These are the open doors. But the real question is, how do they attach? And more importantly, how do you break free from their grip? This isn't just a story, it's a war, and it starts right now. The hidden battle, recognizing the unseen war. The hidden battle is the one you don't see, the one fought on a battlefield of the mind, soul and spirit. It's the war that wages in the background of your everyday life. Yet its effects are profound, shaping everything you think, feel, and experience. The truth is, you're in the midst of a war for your very soul, whether you're aware of it or not. And unlike physical battles, the enemy in this war is not flesh and blood, but something far more insidious: evil entities that aim to attach themselves to your weaknesses and control your light from the shadows. This unseen war is fought in the realms of emotion, thought, and energy. It thrives in the quiet moments when you're not paying attention, when your mind is distracted, your heart is broken, or your spirit is weary. Evil doesn't show up in a dramatic way. It's not a sudden, horrifying experience. Instead, it enters through the cracks of your vulnerabilities, like water seeping through the smallest gaps in a dam. It preys on your insecurities, your unresolved pain, your doubts about yourself and your life. When you find yourself feeling drained, disconnected, or trapped in negative thought patterns, this is often the result of this unseen battle. The enemy doesn't need to physically hurt you. It operates through manipulation, planting seeds of fear, doubt, jealousy, and despair in your mind. Every time you entertain these thoughts, you're feeding it, allowing it to grow stronger. You begin to identify with these dark thoughts, believing that this is just who you are, when in reality it's an external force trying to control you. Most people go through life unaware of this war. Society doesn't teach us how to recognize the forces at play behind the scenes, how to identify the spiritual battle happening right under our noses. Instead, we're told to focus on tangible results: career, wealth, social status, and personal achievement. But what if all of that means nothing? If your soul is under attack? What good is success if you're constantly fighting a losing battle for peace of mind, joy, and inner fulfillment? The hidden battle becomes most evident when things start to feel off, when nothing seems to go right. No matter how hard you try, you might find yourself stuck in patterns of self-doubt, bitterness, or anger, unable to break free despite your best effort. You might feel disconnected from your own purpose, or even worse, completely numb to the world around you. These are not just coincidences. They are signs that something is working against you, trying to weaken your will and keep you in a perpetual state of confusion and fear. Recognizing this war is the first step to winning it. The enemy's strategy is simple. It thrives in darkness, in ignorance, in confusion. The more unaware you are of the forces at play, the more easily it can influence you. But once you become aware of this unseen war, you hold the key to your freedom. Awareness is the weapon that allows you to see the manipulation for what it truly is, to stop feeding the forces that seek to attach to your soul. This battle is not just an external fight. It's a fight for your very identity, for your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. The hidden war has been raging, often without your knowledge, but now it's time to recognize it, understand it, and reclaim what was always yours: your peace, your strength, your soul. 2. How evil enters. The subtlety of attachment. Evil doesn't always barge in like a forceful storm. It sneaks in quietly, like a shadow that you never notice until it's already taken over. The subtlety with which evil entities attach to you is one of their most dangerous traits. They don't need to make a grand entrance. In fact, they prefer to slip in unnoticed, using the most vulnerable parts of your mind and soul to weave their way into your life. One of the most common ways evil enters is through your emotions. Emotions are powerful. They shape how we perceive the world, how we react to situations, and how we interact with others. But unchecked emotions, especially negative ones like anger, resentment, or fear, create openings. They lower your defenses, make you more susceptible to manipulation. Every time you give in to these emotions without addressing them, you open the door just a little bit more. Consider how negative emotions work. They breed more negativity. And this isn't just some abstract idea, it's spiritual. Entities that thrive on despair, fear, and anger are drawn to it. When you feed into these emotions, you send out an energetic signal that draws them in, like moths to a flame. They latch onto this negativity, growing stronger with every unaddressed emotion. Another entry point is through your thoughts. Thoughts have power. Every thought you have creates a wave of energy that either strengthens or weakens you. If you entertain negative, self-defeating thoughts, you are unknowingly feeding an energetic void. Evil entities can take advantage of these vulnerable, unchecked thought patterns, amplifying the negativity and turning your mind into a playground. They implant suggestions, distort your thinking, and make you question your worth, your purpose, and your strength. This attachment isn't always direct. Sometimes evil enters through external sources, people, environments, or media that introduce negativity into your life. A toxic relationship, an environment filled with stress and conflict, or consuming media that glorifies fear and hatred can create the perfect breeding ground for these entities. They attach to your energy field through your interactions with these sources, drawing on the emotional and spiritual energy that you unknowingly offer. Most people don't recognize the gradual shift when these attachments begin to form. That's the key to their power. They don't need to rush. Over time, they make subtle changes to your thoughts, emotions, and behavior, until one day you realize you've become someone you barely recognize. Negative habits form, self-destructive thoughts take over, and you feel as if you've lost control over your own life. The process of attachment is not always instantaneous. It's a slow, deliberate process that feeds on your ignorance, your lack of awareness. Evil doesn't attack with brute force, it attacks with subtlety and patience. The more unaware you are of its presence, the more it tightens its grip. It waits for you to doubt yourself, to entertain negative emotions, and to remain disconnected from your true purpose. Recognizing the subtlety of these attachments is the first step toward breaking free. The more aware you are of the small shifts in your thoughts, emotions, and actions, the more you can resist the insidious pull of darkness. Understanding that these entities thrive on subtle openings is crucial in protecting yourself from their influence. They won't come with a warning, but you can learn to recognize the signs before they gain control. The power of trauma. Vulnerability as a foothold. This trauma is not just an event or a memory. It's a living wound within your soul, and that wound becomes a direct pathway for dark entities to latch onto. At its core, trauma creates a vulnerability. It's a crack in your armor, a place where the light can no longer shine through as it once did. This is precisely where dark forces enter, unseen and undetected, feeding on the very energy your trauma creates. When something painful happens, whether it's abuse, loss, betrayal, or deep emotional pain, it doesn't simply disappear. Your mind might try to bury it, your body might push it aside, but your spirit holds onto it. That pain lingers in your subconscious, festering like an open wound, and dark entities have a keen sense for where those wounds lie. They seek out unresolved trauma because it's their fuel. Think of it this way. Trauma doesn't only affect you emotionally, it shapes your energy. When you experience pain, your energy field weakens, leaving you exposed. You begin to vibrate at a lower frequency, where darkness thrives. It's the perfect breeding ground for entities that feed on suffering and fear. These forces can't survive in the light, but they can manipulate the shadows of your unresolved emotions. This is why your trauma can be the perfect foothold for them to attack. The deeper and more unresolved your trauma is, the easier it becomes for these entities to infiltrate your life. For example, the pain of abandonment might create feelings of loneliness and unworthiness, thoughts that leave you open to negative spiritual influence. Similarly, unresolved guilt or shame can attract entities that thrive on those very emotions. These forces don't need to cause the trauma, they just need to amplify it. Every time you replay your painful memories, every time you allow yourself to be consumed by the hurt, you unknowingly invite them in to feed. It's important to understand that trauma itself doesn't create evil entities. Rather, trauma makes you susceptible to their presence. The darkness within the pain becomes a channel that dark forces can use to invade your consciousness. They latch onto the unresolved grief, anger, and fear, growing stronger with every moment you ignore or suppress those feelings. This is why healing trauma is not just an emotional or psychological process, it's a spiritual one. The longer you leave that wound unaddressed, the more entrenched these entities become. But the good news is, healing is possible. The first step in closing this door is acknowledging the trauma, feeling the pain, and addressing it head-on. Ignoring it, pretending it's gone, only allows it to fester and attract more negativity. When you face the wound and heal it, you remove the very energy that these entities feed on. Healing is a process of reclaiming your power. It's about restoring your energetic integrity and raising your frequency. The higher your vibration, the harder it becomes for these dark entities to attach to you. And this isn't just about emotional healing, it's about spiritual liberation. When you confront your trauma and release its grip on you, you're not just freeing yourself from past pain, you're breaking free from the forces that tried to hold you captive. In the end, trauma can be a doorway to darkness, or it can be the catalyst for your greatest awakening. The choice is yours. 4. Complacency and comfort. The illusion of safety. Complacency is the silent enemy of spiritual growth. In today's world, comfort is often mistaken for safety, but it is within this false sense of security that evil entities often find their way in. It's not the loud, aggressive forces that you need to fear the most. It's the quiet, subtle lure of comfort that works behind the scenes to weaken your defenses. When you stop fighting, when you think everything is fine, when you're lulled into a sense of normalcy, you become vulnerable. This is when dark forces attach to you. Comfort creates a psychological illusion. It convinces you that you are safe, that nothing is threatening you, that you don't need to be on guard anymore. It lures you into a mental state where you stop questioning, stop fighting, and stop growing. This is the moment when you become spiritually stagnant. It's like settling into a chair expecting relaxation, but not realizing the chair is a slow burning poison in it, feeding off your energy. This sense of complacency comes from many sources. It could be the routine of daily life, the comfortable distractions of social media, or the mind-numbing effects of entertainment. These things serve as a temporary escape from deeper issues, but they do nothing to address the core of your being. They pull you further away from awareness, from the truth of who you are and what you're capable of. When you live in comfort, you begin to believe that you don't need to challenge yourself, that everything is fine and that your circumstances are secure. However, the truth is that the most dangerous things often arrive not in chaos but in calm. You stop feeling the need to pray, to meditate, to ask for help, because you feel you've got everything under control. This is when you stop growing, and in that stagnation, entities begin to latch on. They thrive in stillness, in complacency, because you no longer fight them. You no longer fight at all. Entities like predators are always searching for weaknesses, always looking for an opening. And the most dangerous opening is a closed-off mind, one that feels there is no need for further spiritual or emotional growth. Complacency is a door wide open for them to enter unnoticed. The more comfortable you get, the less likely you are to confront the pain, the fear, or the trauma that is keeping you stagnant. And this is exactly what evil feeds on: unaddressed wounds, stagnant emotions, and a soul that is not actively seeking healing or growth. Comfort doesn't always look like a plush couch or a luxurious lifestyle. It's often found in the subtle distractions we use to avoid facing what's really going on inside. The more you allow these distractions to consume you, the further you drift from the truth. The more you rely on these comforts to numb your pain or avoid growth, the easier it is for negative forces to attach and take root in your life. The true enemy of growth is not the darkness, it's the apathy, the comfort, and the complacency that keep you from moving forward. In a world full of distractions, the most powerful thing you can do is confront your own discomfort, face your fears, and continue to challenge yourself to grow spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Only by constantly striving to be better, to stay vigilant, and to face discomfort head-on, can you protect yourself from the subtle forces that are always looking for an opening. Are you ready to break free from the chains of lust and regain control over your life? Discover the 7 biblical secrets to destroy lust, an ebook that unlocks the spiritual wisdom and practical steps you need to overcome temptation and live with purpose. Don't let lust control your destiny any longer. This powerful guide equips you with timeless truths straight from the Bible to help you reclaim your mind, body, and soul. Take the first step toward freedom today. Click the link in the video description or pinned comment to get your copy now and start your transformation. Fear and doubt, amplifying the grip of darkness. Fear and doubt are two of the most powerful tools that evil entities use to attach themselves to you. They are not just emotional responses, they are spiritual vulnerability. When fear takes root in your heart, when doubt begins to cloud your mind, you open the door to forces that thrive on your weakness. These emotions create a fertile ground for darkness to enter, amplifying the grip that evil entities have over your life. Fear is often the first sign that something is wrong. It creeps in quietly, often disguised as a normal response to life's challenges. But when left unchecked, fear grows and begins to control your thoughts, emotions, and actions. It feeds on uncertainty, and when you give it space to linger, it starts to shape your reality. The more you fear, the more you invite those unseen forces to take control of your mind and spirit. Fear brings a sense of powerlessness. When you're afraid, you begin to believe that something outside of you has power over you, and that's exactly what evil entities want you to believe. Fear distorts your perception of reality. It makes everything seem bigger, more threatening, and more insurmountable than it truly is. It amplifies your insecurities and feeds off your doubts. When you give in to fear, you lower your defenses and stop seeing things clearly. This lack of clarity is exactly where darkness thrives. You become paralyzed, unable to take action or make clear decisions. And this inaction is where the entities find their opening. Doubt too plays a critical role in this dynamic. Doubt creates confusion, and confusion opens the door to manipulation. When you begin to doubt yourself, your faith, and your purpose, you create a void that evil entities can fill. Doubt weakens your confidence and makes you second-guess every decision, every choice. It becomes a voice in your head that says you're not good enough, that you're not capable, that you're unworthy of success or peace. The more you doubt, the more you surrender your power to forces that seek to control you. The combination of fear and doubt creates a mental and emotional fog that prevents you from seeing the truth. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of negativity and uncertainty, making it harder to break free. Evil entities use these feelings to keep you off balance, to prevent you from acting in alignment with your highest good. When you're fearful, you avoid confronting your problems. When you doubt, you stop trusting your intuition and your inner strength. This disempowered state is exactly what dark forces need to gain control. Breaking free from fear and doubt is not an overnight process, but it is essential. The first step is recognizing that these emotions are not your natural state. Fear and doubt are learned responses, and they can be unlearned. Reclaim your mind by replacing fear with faith and doubt with trust. The more you acknowledge that you have the power to choose your thoughts, the more you begin to break the hold that fear and doubt have on your life. This doesn't mean that fear and doubt will never return. What it means is that you no longer allow them to control you. Instead, you become the master of your thoughts and emotions, grounding yourself in faith, clarity, and purpose. The more you build your confidence in your spiritual strength, the less room there is for fear and doubt to grow. By confronting these emotions head-on, you reclaim your power, breaking the chains that evil entities rely on to keep you in their grip. 6. Addiction and control. The hidden chains. Addiction is one of the most insidious and powerful ways that evil entities attach themselves to you. It starts innocently enough. One drink, one habit, one moment of weakness. But over time, addiction becomes a hidden chain that binds you to the very forces that wish to control and manipulate your life. These chains aren't just physical, they're spiritual and emotional, often unseen but incredibly strong. And the longer you stay in the grip of addiction, the harder it becomes to break free. What makes addiction so dangerous isn't just the immediate pleasure it provides. It's the spiritual surrender that occurs when you yield to it. At its core, addiction isn't simply about a physical craving for substances or behavior. It's about control. When you're addicted, you no longer have control over your desires. Instead, those desires control you. Every time you give in to the pull of addiction, you make a choice to hand over your power. You surrender your ability to make decisions based on your values, your higher self, and your spiritual power. Instead, you're operating from a place of weakness, fear, and desire, which is exactly where dark forces want you to be. Evil entities thrive on this loss of control. They don't need to physically force you to engage in harmful behaviors. They simply need to exploit the areas where you feel powerless. When addiction takes hold, you're no longer fighting just your cravings. You're fighting the invisible forces that use those cravings to keep you trapped. Addiction becomes a doorway for these entities to latch onto your life. They feed on your guilt, your shame, your inability to escape the cycle of self-destruction. They grow stronger every time you give in. The grip of addiction isn't just about the substance or the behavior. It's about the psychological and spiritual effect it has on you. Each time you fall back into the same patterns, you reinforce the belief that you are weak, that you are incapable of change. You begin to identify with your addiction, and that's when it becomes even harder to break free. You believe the lie that you are powerless, that you are forever chained to your desires. But this is exactly what the dark forces want you to believe, that you are helpless and trapped. In many ways, addiction is a spiritual attack on your very identity. It warps how you see yourself, eroding your sense of self-worth, purpose, and potential. Every moment you're caught in the cycle, you are distancing yourself from your true power and from your connection to a higher purpose. The more you give in, the more you move further from who you truly are and closer to who these forces want you to become. Someone who is constantly searching for comfort in destructive ways. The chains of addiction are also the chains of fear. You're afraid of facing the pain that comes with confronting the root causes of your addiction. You're afraid of what life might look like without your crutch, your escape. But the truth is, these chains aren't just holding you down. They're keeping you from your true freedom. Breaking free from addiction isn't just about overcoming cravings or desires. It's about reclaiming your control, your identity, and your connection to the divine. The path to freedom starts with acknowledging the power addiction has over you, but it doesn't end the moment you realize that addiction is more than a physical need, that it's a spiritual battle. You begin to arm yourself with the strength to overcome it. Breaking free requires more than willpower. It requires spiritual awareness, emotional healing, and a commitment to reclaim your life from the forces that have been keeping you bound. Only then can you shatter those chains and begin to walk in the true freedom that you were always meant to have. 7. The silent war for your mind. Thoughts as a battleground. Evil entities know this better than anyone. They understand that controlling your thoughts means controlling your reality. They infiltrate your mind through subtle suggestions, planted doubts, and distorted perception. What you think shapes what you believe, and what you believe shapes how you act. This is why the battle for your mind is the most important one you'll ever face. The mind is where everything begins. It's where temptation starts, where fear is born, where anger festers. Dark forces operate in the realm of the mind, quietly influencing your thoughts, manipulating your perceptions, and distorting your view of the world. These forces don't need to forcefully take control. They just need to plant seeds of doubt, fear, and insecurity. Once those seeds are planted, they begin to grow, feeding on your emotional responses and clouding your judgment. You may think your thoughts are your own, but in reality, many of the thoughts you have are not yours at all. They are suggestions from unseen forces, carefully tailored to exploit your weaknesses. These thoughts appear like random intrusions, but in truth, they are attacks. They come in the form of negative self-talk, doubts about your worth, and feelings of inadequacy. You're not good enough, they whisper. You'll never change, they sneer. You're trapped, they claim. And the more you entertain these thoughts, the more you invite their influence into your life. The real power of these thoughts lies in their subtlety. They don't come as overwhelming, forceful attacks. Instead, they work their way in gently, like a fog creeping into your mind, slowly clouding your clarity. Over time, these thoughts become habitual, and before you know it, you start to believe. Your mind, once a powerful tool for clarity and wisdom, becomes a playground for darkness. And it's here in this space that evil entities thrive. They thrive in the chaos of your mind, in the confusion of your thoughts, and in the emotional turmoil you experience as a result. The most dangerous part of this war is that you may not even realize it's happening. Evil doesn't always show up with horns and fire. It shows up in your everyday thinking. Negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, and emotional triggers become the vessels through which these dark forces operate. They attach to your insecurities, amplify your fears, and twist your desires, all while keeping you unaware of their influence. But there is hope. The key to overcoming this silent war is awareness and intentionality. You must guard your thoughts, just as you would guard a fortress. Not every thought is your own, and not every thought is true. Just because you think something doesn't make it a fact. The moment you recognize a thought as harmful, false, or negative, you have the power to reject it. You can choose to replace it with a truth that empowers you, a belief that strengthens your resolve, and a thought that aligns with your highest self. The Bible says, take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. 2 Corinthians 10:5. This means you don't let your mind run wild. You take control. You decide which thoughts stay and which ones go. This is the spiritual discipline of mental warfare. It's about recognizing that you have the authority to reject any thought that does not serve your highest good. You don't have to accept every thought that enters your mind. By practicing mindfulness, meditation, and focusing on empowering beliefs, you can reprogram your mind to reject negative influence. Fill your thoughts with positivity, gratitude, and the truth of your strength. This doesn't just push out the darkness. It transforms your mind into a powerful tool for good, a mind that aligns with your true purpose. 8. Breaking the chains. Reclaiming your power. Breaking the chains that bind you is not just a concept. It's a necessity for reclaiming your true power. Evil entities may attach to your life, but they only have control when you allow them to. The moment you recognize that you are not powerless, that you possess an inherent strength that has been waiting to be unlocked, the chains begin to break. Reclaiming your power isn't a process of fighting against the darkness outside you. It's about recognizing the light within you, the divine power that is always ready to rise. The first step in breaking free is awareness. Before you can fight, you must acknowledge that you're in a battle. Too many people go through life unaware of the spiritual forces that manipulate their thoughts, emotions, and decisions. When you understand that these attachments exist, that evil forces prey on your vulnerabilities, you take away their ability to silently control you. Awareness is like flipping a switch in the dark. You can now see the traps set before you, and that knowledge alone strips the enemy of their power. Next, responsibility plays a crucial role. It's easy to play the victim, to blame circumstances or others for your pain, your struggles, or your addictions. But true freedom comes when you take responsibility for your own life, your own healing, and your own choices. No one can break these chains. It's on you to step into your power and make the decision to break free. This doesn't mean you're alone. It means you are empowered to seek the help you need, whether through spiritual practices, therapy, or trusted mentors. It's about taking ownership of your destiny. Faith is the foundation of true power. Without faith in something greater than yourself, whether that's a higher power, the universe, or the belief in your own innate strength, you remain disconnected from the source of your strength. Faith gives you the courage to face the darkness, to stand tall when the weight of your chains feels unbearable. It's not just about religious faith. It's about trusting that you are capable of more than what's been holding you back. Faith empowers you to believe that you can transform your reality, that the darkness doesn't define you, and that you are meant for greatness. In addition to faith, spiritual discernment is key. The world is full of distractions, illusions, and false comforts, but discernment helps you differentiate between what nourishes your soul and what drains your energy. Evil forces thrive in confusion and doubt, so learning to trust your intuition and listen to the inner voice that speaks truth is vital in reclaiming your power. When you trust yourself, when you trust the path that is leading you toward healing, your decisions become sharper, clearer, and more aligned with your true purpose. The act of surrender is often misunderstood. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of control over things you cannot change. It's about releasing the weight of your past mistakes, your fears, and your attempts to control every outcome. When you surrender, you open the door to divine intervention, to healing, and to the strength that comes when you let go of what no longer serves you. The battle isn't yours alone to fight, but you must be willing to surrender your struggle to something great. Lastly, action is what seals the deal. You can know all the theories, feel all the emotions, and understand the truth, but nothing changes until you act. Breaking the chains requires tangible steps, whether it's confronting your fears, breaking unhealthy habits, or engaging in prayer, meditation, or other transformative practices. Your power isn't in your knowledge alone, but in your willingness to apply it to your life. Reclaiming your power isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous process. It requires commitment, faith, responsibility, discernment, and action. As you take each step, you will begin to see the chains fall away, piece by piece, until you stand fully in the power you were always meant to have. As you've learned, the forces that seek to control you are not always obvious. They come in many forms, subtle, persistent, and often hidden behind the veil of comfort, complacency, and unresolved pain. But understanding how these dark forces attach to your life is only the beginning. The real power lies in the recognition that you are not at the mercy of these forces. You possess the ability to break free, to reclaim your mind, body, and spirit from the grip of darkness. Your past, your fears, your trauma, they don't define your future unless you let them. You have the power to rise above and reclaim what is rightfully yours. This battle is not one of mere survival. It's one of transformation. The darkness wants you to stay stuck, to believe that you're powerless, to think that there is no escape. But the truth is, you have been given everything you need to overcome. When you break free from the chains of fear, lust, and distraction, you unlock a life of purpose, peace, and true freedom. This journey isn't easy. It's a battle, but it's a battle you can win. And the first step starts with you taking action. If lust has been a force in your life that has held you captive, now is the time to break free. The 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust Before It Destroys You. Ebook is a guide to help you do just that, unlocking powerful spiritual tools rooted in timeless biblical wisdom to not just fight lust, but to completely dismantle it. Don't let lust control your thoughts, your relationships, or your life any longer. It's time to regain the power over your own mind and spirit. Take action now. The 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust Before It Destroys You is waiting for you. Click the link in the video description to get your copy and start your journey toward lasting transformation today. Don't wait. Freedom is just one step away.